Good evening and welcome to We the People, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Minneapolis. My name is Joan Higginbotham and I'll be your host for this evening's program. Well, tonight we're going to talk about bicycling. And bicycling might not seem the most topical topic with all the snow we have on the ground, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen pretty darn soon, and it's all about riding your bike. And our guest this evening is Patrick Stevenson, and he is from 30 Days of Biking. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
So tell me, 30 Days of Biking, What on earth is that?
So 30 Days of Biking is a pledge to ride your bike every day in April and share your adventures online with the hashtag 30 Days of Biking.
So 30 days, there are 30 days in April and you have to ride your bike every day.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's like a pledge. So we say there's no minimum distance. You can go around the block, you can go around the earth, you can bike 100 miles, you can bike 1. It's kind of all up to you how you're going to participate. We just want people out there every day going on adventures and sharing photos and poems and videos and whatever.
So how do they share?
So we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Those are kind of like our 3 primary platforms.
And then we'll have your website, I think, at the end of the show, so people can go on that and get all the details?
Yep, that's where our registration is, too. We have a free sign-up, and it's kind of like a big, gigantic guest book, and you can put your name on there and say why you're signing up and why you want to participate.
So how many people did it? Now, this is not the first year.
No, it's the 10th year, actually.
Oh, this is the 10th anniversary.
10th year. No, wow. It's the 9th. It's been 9 years, but it's like the 10th iteration.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, this was your idea.
Yes.
And how did you come up with it?
So I would say it's a collective idea. Somebody on Twitter proposed 30 days of yoga, and I wasn't too into yoga at that time. Yoga's great, but I was more into biking. I was like super into biking. So I threw it out there. I was like, why not do 30 days of biking? And the very next month coming up was April. Tossed it out there.
Oh, okay.
People on Twitter jumped on it. Like 300 people signed up right away and said they were going to do it. And my friend Zach got involved with me, and we organized a kickoff ride to celebrate that first April, and 60 people showed up, and we were like, what is going on? This is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that was the first year.
Yeah.
How many people do you expect to sign up this year?
Last year we had about 7,000. I would say about probably 8,000 again this year.
7,000 or 8,000. And I went on your website to see who'd already signed up. They are from literally all over the world.
Yeah, it's a widespread.
How did they hear about it?
It's kind of like Minneapolis served as the focal point. So it starts here, and then we have people who get really into it, and then they tell people, say they're from, like a participant, Sveta was from Belarus, so she told people in Belarus about it, and they took hold of it and did their own thing. There's someone in Spain whose name is Carlos Rodriguez. He kind of took hold of it there and then created Treinta Días en Bici, which is our Spanish-speaking chapter. So spread the word from there, and then it's just gone. It's all about the power of kind of one passionate person who's like, this is amazing. I want other people to do it.
Well, I just Minsk, Grand Canary Islands, Kiev, Barcelona, and then, as I said, Fergus Falls.
Yeah. So Barcelona had more events last year for 30 Days of Biking than we did here in Minneapolis.
Oh, really?
They had a calendar full of events, and I was like, oh my God, it's amazing.
That's great, though. That is. And did they post photos and stuff, too?
Oh, yeah, everyone posts photos. There's videos. I just watched a video from Italy that was like a montage of people participating in Italy, and I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I could see how happy they were. It was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, now, I noticed that you don't really have to bike even outside, do you?
No. That's kind of, so we want to gain people as part of this who don't already bike every day but would consider it. So we kind of offer that as an out. Like, that's why we have that no minimum distance too. Like, you can just get out there right around the block. And if the weather is really terrible and you just want to bike inside on your exercise bike, then
that's counts
it.
Too.
Go for it. I biked around my garage personally. There was one time where I was sick and I just rode down my building hall and I was like green and about to throw up, but I got my ride in.
It's did it.
Just kind of a goofy thing. Like, you just see what you can do with it, where you take it.
Well, now, if we're going to talk a little bit about what happens here in Minneapolis. And so, now, there are all kinds of events. What sorts of events are there?
So we're going to have a kickoff party on March 31st, and that's going to be at Red Stag Supper Club at noon to 4 on the 31st. And there's going to be multiple rides going to that from different parts of the city. So you can find that on Facebook and on our website. And then every Thursday, we're going to have a social ride from the Joyful Riders Club.
And what is a social ride?
Social ride is very much like a a social pace where you ride side by side and talk, so we're not going fast.
It's just sort of fun.
Yeah, and then everybody gets a free beer or beverage at the end, courtesy of Surly Brewing. And then Friday there's a beer social ride, another beer social ride. Saturday is the pastry ride through Perennial
So
Cycle.
every Saturday there's
Every
a pastry
Saturday.
ride, and every Friday there's
like
another
a happy
ride.
hour ride, and every Thursday is the social ride. So we have like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We are stacked. with events.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is it families do it too?
Yeah, I've seen families do it. I've seen someone as young as 2 doing it. People ride with their babies and their cargo bike racks. Like, everyone does it, and people get really jazzed about it and excited. The pastry ride in particular is very family friendly. That's a slow pace, and everyone gets a free donut at the end.
Oh, that's
or
a good
pastry.
thing.
So like that's a good
Yeah.
motivation to come along.
And this is all on the. This is like a calendar on your website as well, so that
Yes.
people can.
Everything is up
Sign
there,
up.
the encyclopedia of events.
Okay, great. Now, how has it changed since you first started? I mean, was it the first year just basically let's all ride for 30 days, and then it kind of grew from there?
Yeah, so it first started as kind of like a challenge between friends. It was just between us on Twitter, and then ever since then it's just been about making it grow and like take on new elements every year. We raise money for charity, for World Bicycle Relief.
So what is World, I saw that on your website, what is World Bicycle Relief?
That is an organization that raises money to give bikes to communities in like rural Africa. So it's all about giving people bikes there, so they don't have to walk. Like sometimes the kids who get the bikes, they have to walk like 2 to 3 hours to get to school. So instead they get this like really burly bike that's really stable and awesome. And the money we raise goes toward causes like that, as well as like training mechanics and just giving people bikes.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
So there is something else. So when you get on your bicycle, do you have to have a special kind of bike to do this? So you said anybody can do it on any bike? Or?
No, yeah, that's the thing is that you can do it on any bike. You can go any distance. You can wear any type of clothes you want. You don't have to wear spandex. You can wear jeans or shorts or a dress or sandals or high heels, or it's like whatever you want is the gamut. It's all
So you want everybody to do it, is what you're basically saying.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to try to make it as accessible as possible.
And so now, do you have any plans for next year? I mean, already you're ready to go this year, but
Yeah, next year I want a new website because we've had the same website for quite a while, but now like we've grown in so many ways and we have so much new programming that I want a new website to kind of like celebrate our 10th anniversary. I have this dream too of like organizing a conference in Minneapolis where people travel in from all over the world and visit us.
they bike in.
Yeah, they would bike. They would bike across the ocean.
Right,
Yeah,
that's right.
It's possible.
But they would come. They
Yeah.
would come.
Oh yeah, like to have people like I mentioned, Carlos Rodriguez or people from Belarus to come in, like that would be amazing.
It would be.
To
And
like
it's-
make Minneapolis this destination.
it could be the hub of bicycling.
Yeah.
Even though we have feet of snow in March.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're kind of a hub already, so I want to make it even more of a hub, just like keep getting hubbier.
Well, now, I wanted to talk a little bit about biking, because people they're thinking about being a bicyclist, but they just don't know
Sure.
if they can do it. And so, if you're just starting out, not maybe with the 30 days of biking, but you just kind of think, well, I should really, this summer's the summer I'm going to start biking.
Yeah.
Can you give some sort of hints for people to get started?
Well, what really got me into it was bike commuting, and what really helped is that I tried not to have an all or nothing mindset, because I feel like when people first start, they're like, I gotta do it all the way, I gotta be super hardcore and have the right clothes.
Got the spandex and everything?
Spandex. I mean, like nothing against spandex, it works for people, but it can be an impediment or a barrier to a lot of people getting started because they feel they have to look a certain way. So I think it's all about like just do the minimum viable action. My friend has this term, minimum viable action. Just get out there and do it. Like if it's just around the block, get started. First time I biked to work, I biked into work and then I took the bus home. I remember when I biked into work the first time, I got lost on River Road, which seems ridiculous.
There's not a lot of
How do you
places
get
go.
lost on River Road? But I did, and I still figured it out. So I think just getting out there and trying it and not worrying about having to look a certain way or having to have the right bike. Just like if you have a bike, you can do it. And then you'll kind of learn your way into it and just take it step by step.
Is there any place like any of the bike shops that sort of give you like lessons, not exactly a lesson, but, sort of help you get started?
That's a good question. I would think and hope that you could go to just about any bike shop in the city that would offer you advice. When I first started, I went to Freewheel Midtown on the Greenway. They kind of gave me commuting advice.
About how to do it, so to speak.
Yeah, we have a really strong community of bike shops in the Twin Cities that are very supportive and wonderful, and I think that people can feel safe and comfortable going into for advice.
Well, that's the other good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
if people don't have a bike now, or if they're just wanting to get into it, there are a lot of places they can go, you're saying, where they could get some really good help and some
For sure.
supportive folks to help them on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also bike clubs, like we run a bike club as part of 30 Days of Biking too. There's a Twin Cities Bike Club. There's all kinds of clubs that you can find throughout the Twin Cities where you can kind of meet people who are into this too, and maybe meet people who are just getting into it themselves, who can
Now,
give advice. And
Have you, biked around Minnesota?
I have done the MS 150. So I went from just outside Duluth to just outside the Twin Cities, but I haven't done the whole state. But I would like to someday.
Well, I wondered about, does Minnesota have a reputation for decent bike paths throughout the state?
Yeah, I think it's really becoming more of a statewide thing. You could see it with Fergus Falls, especially. Like, there are huge, strong bike chapters throughout the state.
Really?
I mean, Duluth is great. Like the Cuyuna area, there's a big bike population.
Really?
Like, people just love biking in Minnesota, and I think it's about our love for nature. And there's great trails too. I mean, like the Munger Trail, the Paul Bunyan Trail. There's the new path that goes all the way up. I think it's along Highway 61, all the way up to like Grand Marais.
I've seen it, but I haven't biked on it. I've driven by it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's so much biking you can do in the state. The state is incredible for outdoors and
Well, I think the
recreation.
southeastern part, isn't there the river? That was one of the first bike trails, I think.
Yeah, there's like the Cannon River Trail. Rochester has great bike infrastructure too. That's actually where I'm from.
So what you can do actually is you can drive somewhere with
Yeah.
your bike, and then you can bike in different parts of the state if
Yeah.
you don't want to drive all the way to Rochester, or bike all the way to Rochester and then start
For
ration.
sure. I do want to bike to Rochester someday though.
You do.
I will.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. Well, so a person can just start out really easily.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of bike? I mean, is there a beginner's kind of bike that they should get? I would guess that some of those are so, like 20 speed bike. It sometimes seems like it, but it isn't.
Right, yeah. I mean, like what really got me into biking was a single speed bike.
Really?
Yeah, from
That would be
Surly.
the easiest.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was so simple and easy to maintain, and like
Was this when you were 10 though, or is this when you were an adult biker?
this was when I was an adult biker,
Oh,
so
really?
back around like 2009 when I was first really getting passionate into biking.
And you had a one speed bike.
Yeah, one speed bike. That was kind of the hip thing back then, to have like a fixed gear or a single speed bike, like the minimalist perspective on biking, just nice and tidy.
But if
and
you
easy.
could, I mean, if you could get started that way, that's an incentive to people to say you don't need to have the fancy dancy bicycle to start.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you could start riding with a mountain bike that you get from a used bike shop. Or it's just about getting out there and getting used to it.
And trying it.
Yeah, and trying it. I mean, as you get more experience too, you might find like, I really want to go for a road ride, and then you might go for a more expensive road bike. Or I really want to try mountain biking, and then you could get the really expensive road bike. But the biking is such a beautiful, simple thing that you can just get out there on any bike and do it. Bike share. I mean, bike share is a great entry point too.
Now, what is bike share?
Bike share is something like, so Nice Ride Minnesota has stations around the Twin Cities that just like...
Oh, you mean
they're
the green bikes,
bikes,
or whatever
yeah.
they are? Oh, okay.
Yeah, now they're going to be blue and have like e-bike assist on them. And
Oh, really? So that
Yeah.
you don't have to do all the work yourself?
yeah, it helps out, gives you a little bit more power.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's a good way to get started too, because they're just everywhere. So you always have a bike and you don't have to worry about locking it up.
And you can return it to any station along the way.
Yeah.
Some of them you can just leave them on the street, can't you? Is that-
Yeah, that's coming. So there's the one in St. Paul that's the Lime bikes. They just can kind of leave them anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Nice Ride is going to do it this year. I think they're still sticking with the station model where you have to dock it. But kind of the idea eventually is that you'll just be able to leave it anywhere. Yeah.
Now, one question I always have is, I see these people that take the bus and then they take their bike. Now, you fasten your bicycle to the front of the bus. And is there a lesson? I mean, can you learn how to do it before you're out there standing in front of the bus with your bike?
Yeah, so if you go on metrotransit.org, they usually have a list of places where you can try that out. I found that it really helped me to practice because it can be kind of scary to put your bike on the front of a bus because you're like, everyone's waiting for me.
Yes, that's what I
on the
was
bus.
thinking.
The bus
Exactly.
driver's looking at me all angrily, and I
Right.
get all like scared.
Yes.
But it's actually very simple. So like once you get used to it, you're like, no big deal. Yeah, but you
But-
just have to practice.
Well, that's good, because I was thinking there might be some people who would want to do it, but for the very reason, because I thought the same thing. I'm not going to stand in front of a bus,
Yeah,
not if I want to value my life.
it's scary.
Yeah, but once you learn how to do it, it's really easy, huh?
Yeah, it is. You just toss it on there and bring it up over the wheel,
Well,
and you're good.
we will.
Do you want to demonstrate right now?
There are places you can go, though,
Yes, there are.
and Metro Transit can tell you where those places are.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a good thing. So if you're really wanting to not commute the whole way to work, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, mix it up. Again, that all or nothing attitude can kind of be an impediment.
And
so
can get in your way.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the other thing is snowing. It's snowing. We've had horrible snow, but I see some people. In fact, I saw some guy today as I was on my way over here, riding his bicycle. So,
Yeah.
what do you need to know if you're going to bike in this kind of weather?
I think
Don't do it. No.
I actually like winter biking was what made me really fall in love with it.
Really?
So what I did back then, I was on that very same single speed bike. I put studded tires on it to help with the ice. So if you're riding on snow, it's still going to be like a little bit, so you kind of have to make sure you find like clean, solid ground to ride on. Or you could get a fat bike, which kind of helps with the more treacherous terrain. That can help you get over anything.
So it's better to have a bike that's equipped for driving and riding in the snow.
Yeah, it really helps. Yeah, with like a thicker tire, a thicker knobbier tire, that can really help it make it easier for you. I know that first winter having studded tires that kept me upright really made me feel safe. So that
Now,
helped.
so we talked about riding in the cold weather. Do you have like an anorak, some kind of a like heavy-duty jacket or whatever that you wear, or pants, or wind pants, or?
I just have a soft shell jacket and then I layer inside it. Yeah, so it's all about learning to layer, like having a nice base layer and then layering on top of that and making sure that wind can't get in.
So then you could be, maybe not when it's 0, but when it's 15 or 20, you could ride in relative comfort, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. You can ride in comfort like down to -20, I think. I just got used to it. You get used to it.
I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
Well, now we're going to go to summer biking.
Yeah.
And when you do that in the summertime, are most offices equipped so that, I mean, what if I would think that if you come in like all sweaty, you're not going to feel like you're going to be welcomed into the office. What do you do then?
There's all kinds of methods that people use. So you could bring baby wipes along. I'm a recent dad, so I have access to a lot of baby wipes. If anybody wants baby wipes, I can suggest a brand. So that's a way to do it. You can just go into the bathroom and kind of like wash yourself. One thing I used to do, I used to have a pretty long commute into downtown St. Paul from downtown Minneapolis, and I would shower before my bike ride and then do the bike ride, and I would just go slow so I didn't get too sweaty, and then I would feel totally comfortable at work and not gross. So I think that's also a thing you can do, is just go at like a nice, slow, steady pace so you don't get soaked in sweat and then you show up like blah.
Well, that's what I was thinking, is that, hot and humid, and you get there and you think, oh man, this is not good.
Yeah, just splash a little water on your face. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of workplaces that have those facilities. It's definitely a privilege that a lot of workplaces have.
And do they have places just even actually to store your bike? That would be the other thing to think about.
Yeah, that's actually what made it easy for me at first too, because Olson, the advertising agency I worked at then, which has since changed its name to ICF Next, but they had a nice little biking area where I could just toss my bike in, so I didn't have to think about it or sign up for a contract, or they just toss it in the room, and it was totally safe.
Oh, well, that's so that you can lobby for something like that if you and your
Yes.
colleagues want to ride to work.
Yes, I feel like the fewer barriers that are in front of you, the more likely you are to do it. Mm-hmm. So if there's just a room you can put your bike in, you're more likely to ride, and your employer can really help with that. Yeah.
So now, have you ridden like around the country?
No, I'm actually not that hardcore. I feel bad. I'm not like very hardcore for you.
No,
Yeah.
but
I've
so-
done bike tours. Like I've done occasional things.
Well, you
my
did the
biggest
150 miles. I consider that
Yeah.
to be pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's a really fun one. That's the MS 150, and I'm really into bike camping. My family and I have done a few bike camping rides. I actually
So
organize
tell me about that,
trips.
because that seems like really difficult with younger children. I'm
Yeah.
assuming they are younger children.
Well, we haven't done it yet with my baby. We will eventually. We've just done it, so I've led camping trips where we do like a 30-mile ride to a local campsite. Speaking again of how amazing Minnesota is, you can get to these campsites like without even hardly leaving a path the entire way.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done rides with like 80 people on them.
Wow.
Taking them to the campsite, and then we all set up tents together. And so that's kind of a thing I'm proud of, that
So
I've organized these
how do
rides.
you, I mean, okay, so you're riding
Yeah.
along, you've got a tent on your bicycle? I mean, you
Yeah.
know, folded up, but I mean, how much can you carry on a bike?
Quite a bit.
Or how do you do it?
Yeah. So I have a cargo bike, so I can put bags on the back of it.
Uh-huh.
I've also done, like, I tried to hold as little as possible on myself to see what I could do. So I just stuffed a tent into my backpack and a sleeping bag.
And you-
so, yeah, just like keep it as minimalist as possible. And then you can bike into town and go into brunch in the morning. So you don't have to worry about cooking, which helps. Yeah. That's
And-
kind of my mindset, just to keep it as simple as possible.
Keep it, and you can still, and if it rains, your tent is still going to keep out the water?
Yes. If it's a good tent.
That's the critical thing. So now, how old is the baby? I mean, when do you think you'll start doing this with your child?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I would love to this summer. She's a year and a half old now. So I think probably a 30-mile ride would be pretty excessive.
Do you use the little carriage, the chariot or whatever it's called with your,
So we have a trailer that we put in the back of our bikes, but then I also got a cargo bike especially for her that has a seat on the back of a rack, and that has an e-assist on it, so I can kind of crank up the speed to go faster with a little battery. That helps a lot too. She loves riding on the bike.
she likes it?
Yeah.
Now, talk a little bit about this. I've seen other people that have the e-assist. Is that something that is, that you can put on your bike, or is it something that, do you have to buy a special kind of bike?
Both. There are things you can put on your bike that your bike shop can help you with. I would go into them and talk to them about that expertise.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
so
I'm
in
an
other
amateur.
words, if I was thinking if you want to
Yeah.
go on that 40-mile ride and you think,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this,
Yeah.
and you can take your regular bike that you already own and you can go in and get some lessons on how to use that, and they'll affix it to your
Yeah.
bicycle.
Yeah, you can put an e-assist on just about any bike, I think, and there's also a thing called the Copenhagen wheel that helps with that. Or you can buy bikes right away that are outfitted with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a conversation going on in the bike community right now because people are saying, like, that's not real biking because you get help. And again, like, I think it makes it easier and more accessible for people to get out there and bike if they can have a little support when they ride.
Sure.
So if more people are out biking, it's better for us
Well,
all.
that's what we want,
Yeah.
for people to do it. So now I'm going to look at it from the side of the driver. I have heard a lot of people that are very unhappy about all the bike paths that we have on the major streets now. So as a driver of a motor vehicle, what would you advise? How do you advise, what's good road etiquette for drivers with bicycle people?
So I will say I'm also a driver. I'm not just a biker. I also have a car. So I see both sides of the equation, I think.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think in general people just need to slow down and realize that that person out there on a bike is a fragile human being. That yes, they might be slowing you down and be a bit of an annoyance, but they're someone who's trying to get to where they are living their lives to be with their family, and not see them as an impediment, see them as a person and a human being, just like you. So that I think can change a lot of the ways that people interact because there's such tension between both sides.
There
'Cause I-
does seem to be.
Yeah.
There does seem to be. And I guess you're probably right. It's probably the slowing it down part. I'm always
is.
worried I'm going to, hit the bicyclist or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. I think is people get angry because they're afraid. They don't literally want to hurt this person. They're afraid that they're going to hurt them, and then that fear turns into anger and animosity, and that can come out as an argument or anger or honking or speeding around fast and
Well,
accelerating.
that's it. You think, now, should I pass that bicyclist, or well, then
Well, okay, so like, give me a sample situation. What's a?
no, but I'm
Yeah.
just driving along, and I see this cyclist in front of me, and I think, I wonder if I should pass him or if I should just stay behind him.
Yeah, I would treat them like a slow-moving car.
And that's just, if he's going, 10 miles an hour or whatever it is that the cyclist is going, you can
Yeah,
just
like
pass him.
find a time to go over and pass, and then just get over as well as you can. I always appreciate that when I'm a bicyclist. Sometimes I pull over to make sure they know that you're good to go around. I just want to be treated like a slow-moving car. What can really help too is if we have separated bike infrastructure.
Well, no, I think people have really, really been unhappy about that.
Yeah, well, why do you think they're unhappy about it?
Well, because I guess in some cases it sounds like it takes one lane away from the traffic and they already feel they don't have enough space.
Right. Well, I think that, let's just say that bikers are road users too, and they also deserve a place on the road that makes them feel safe. and they deserve to be able to get to where they want to get safely.
That's I guess you've probably put your finger on it, because many drivers don't feel that bicyclists do have a place on the road, right?
Yeah, and that's an important thing to point out, is that we do have a legal right to ride on the road. There's some education that needs to happen, I think, around the world, that bicyclists do not necessarily belong on the sidewalk. There's places where it's okay for bikers to be on the sidewalk, but statistically we're actually safer on the road because we're more visible and you can see us.
Mm-hmm, that's
so
true.
versus when you're on the sidewalk, you might pop out in the intersection and then
I
surprise
never thought
someone.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, like especially at a green light, drivers expect like a certain rate of exit onto the road, but if you're coming off the sidewalk real fast, then you surprise them. So
It's more dangerous, actually.
much more dangerous, yeah.
Well, now, so then we're going to talk about senior citizens. Can you still start riding your bike if you're over 60?
Yeah, I think definitely. With 30 Days of Biking, there's a very strong contingent of senior citizens
Really?
participating, yes.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think things like I just shared a really inspirational story on 30 Days of Biking's page about someone who started out real slow, just rode down his gravel driveway, and then gradually found his way into bike racing.
Really?
Yeah. So there are stories like that all the time, that just figuring out what works for your body. I think what's cool about biking is that it's very low impact. It's very easy on you. So you can kind of take it at a pace that works for you, and then it's just a sustainable way of getting around that's very easy on like your knees and your body.
So that actually it might be better than walking,
Yeah.
because it's less impact.
And it's faster, which is
Well,
more
there's
fun.
that too. That makes it good too.
Yeah.
Any tips on helmets?
So there is a big debate about helmets too. I personally wear my helmet because it makes me feel safe, but I know certain people make a point of like saying I don't wear my helmet because I shouldn't have to. You look at a place like Amsterdam, people don't wear helmets there, but we don't quite have the infrastructure that they do.
So we really need the helmet because we need to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I like a helmet. I like wearing my helmet.
Feeling of safety.
Yeah.
Well, amazingly, our half an hour is almost up tonight. But
Dang.
Thank you so much for being with us to talk about bicycling. And
Yeah.
so when does this start? Now, April,
April 1st.
and you can do any amount of biking,
Any amount of biking.
and then you just have to, you don't have to, but you should check in the website, do some of the events.
Yeah, so there's events going on throughout the month. We're going to have a whole bunch of rides and a party. And then at the very end of the month, there's going to be an event with REI that's not on the calendar yet, but it will be.
Great.
There's going to be live music. There's going to be pastries
Lots of
and
things.
beer and
So
everything.
So get your bike out and start tuning it up right now so that you can join in on a month of biking, April 1st to April 30th. And thanks for tuning in to We the People. We hope you'll join us again. This is Joan Higginbotham for the League of Women Voters saying good night and try biking.
Awesome.